Hi, everyone. Earl Fanatic here with another episode of the Cryptopolitan podcast. And today's guest is Fraser. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Funnily for the UK, it's sunny. It's warm for April. Yeah, I can't complain. And yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, it's a little chillier than usual here in Vancouver, Canada, but I can't really complain. We have cherry blossoms while the rest of the country has like
Oh,
snow.
beautiful.
So, so I mean, I complain, but no one will listen to me anyway. So, well, let's dive right in. Tell us the name of your project and 50,000 foot overview level. What does it do?
Absolutely. So yeah, you've got myself, Fraser. I'm one of the founders over at Cheqd, alongside Anchor, CTO, and Javid, our CFO. So a few things. So there's quite a nice or story behind us. So we very much started out building self-sovereign or decentralized ID. So the idea
Mhm.
that individuals should own, control their data. Our kind of innovation, our invention around this is the ability for individuals, but also companies to monetize that data, even though individuals have that ownership and control.
Mm.
So the context of where we came from was myself and Anchor, again, our CTO co-founder, we met at Accenture. We were both building decentralized ID for governments, for companies, and we kept on deploying these solutions or taking kind of pilots or POCs into these companies. And the reaction we always get was very, very similar. We'd always get, we love the tech, we love the user paradigm, we love this like individuals owning their data, the whole empowerment side of things.
Mhm.
Um, we love just this whole user experience and what it has the potential to do. And it always got hung up on how do we make money from this? If we're a company that's suddenly releasing all the data back to individuals, how do we make money there? So yeah, kind of our big adventure was let's go and solve that. Let's make it so that we can get individuals their data back, make sure that companies still make their revenue, and
Mhm.
really flip that kind of data ownership paradigm like upside down. More recently, though, it has been accounting for this wave of AI agents, as well as kind of AI generally. So I think like most projects and protocols, um, like we've had a huge amount of adoption in the traditional kind of decentralized ID space. So whether that is fraud prevention, reusable KYC, or like various different use cases, we had a massive wave, obviously, of like figuring out how to adopt and how to adjust to AI over the last 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, some of that is around AI for content credentials. Sorry, using decentralized ID for content credentials. So the idea being you can have a credential of where did this piece of data, where did this data come from, or content come from, who edited it, under what circumstances, how did I go from the provenance of something all the way through to the end product, and
Okay.
having kind of that all the way along, mostly to prevent deepfakes, to prevent kind of deepfakes,
Yeah, I was gonna
misinformation.
say like HeyGen's getting pretty good at making an AI version of
Yes,
me. In the beginning, it
100%.
was terrible, but now it's looking like it's starting to look real, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And that's going to be super important. And then the second layer of that as well, to use your example, if you have an avatar that is then being used by, say, an agent, how do you know that the agent is representing the right individual? Is it representing the right company? Has it been audited? So we're very much now kind of taking everything that we've learned and we're already implementing on the identity, both corporate and organizational side, and replicating that for agents. So yeah, how do you know which agents represent a company? How do you know that they were audited, security
mm,
audited? Who developed it? Who architected it? Has it been trained on the right data? Um, and just fleet management. Like for a company, how do you make sure that all your agents are discoverable? If you retire one, no one can use it anymore. No one can impersonate
right.
you.
Mm,
So really building, I think we've always been focused on building trust infrastructure and payment infrastructure, and now it's basically replicating that same trust and payment infrastructure from individuals and companies across to being used for agents as well, which it's been really exciting, and just the space is moving so quickly.
well,
So it's
yeah,
it's been really
definitely.
cool.
I mean, there's been a big shift, right? Like not too long ago, we were able to use voice signatures as a methodology by which to prove that I'm me, right?
Yeah.
But with like 11 labs, all of a sudden, it sounds exactly like me. It pauses when I pause. It swears when I swear. I mean, it's almost creepy at this point. It's like, holy cow! Like it's like voice recognition software from a security standpoint went out the window. And so,
100%.
and then like you said with the avatars, that's starting to go sideways too, right? Thank God, like the phone facial recognition, doesn't do it based on the picture. It does it based on depth of field of face, right? So, so at least we're okay there. So you're talking about the protection for people, like deep fakes, et cetera, et cetera. That's an interesting topic for sure. Now, when it comes to like, the KYC stuff and all that usage, I mean, there's monetization there because companies will pay for that information for like
Exactly.
anti-money laundering, that sort of thing. You're opening up a bank account, a trading account, whatever it is. Are there any other stipulations, like, or any other use cases that you're finding that's interesting for this space?
Yeah, absolutely. So every single time someone comes up with like a new idea, and we're just kind of aghast with where they've come at this from. So one was looking at ride hailing, so reusing credentials from a verified ride hailing platform. So that's really cool in terms of like them being able to use that into any other consumer retail app where you suddenly have this extra layer of security. Um, I think one of the coolest ones I've seen recently is B2B email fraud protection. So they're
Interesting.
basically they're like building a replacement. Well, feature wise, it looks similar to Slack, but you get verified through like a KYC portal for it does both KYB, so it'll identify the organization, and then it'll look for the directors of the organization, and then you have to KYC against that. And
Hmm.
then once you're inside the platform, they're like, this is where you share your invoices, your payment information, because both sides are authenticated and verified now, versus just firing like invoices back and forth across email.
Well, that's the
So
thing. Like that's been a
exactly.
real scenario, right? Like, because I used to be in finance, and people would just get an invoice, and the finance team would go, okay, and then pay it, right?
Yep.
And the link is fake, everything is fraud. It goes to some offshore account in the middle of nowhere, and then like, what? Well, we paid it, right? And then the real
Yeah.
company, so the real company was hijacked, and then they didn't know that that their invoices were stolen, and then the payments went off to Neverland, and that's it, right? It's just
Exactly. I think there was a case in the US recently of a guy who'd like made multi-millions by just invoicing or sending fake invoices to Apple, basically Fang. And he made it was millions. I mean, he's been caught and jailed, I think, but
right.
for a long time he got away with it because just no one was questioning these invoices. So I'd say there's that. One of the other cool ones that I've seen by Origin Vault is an implementation of content credentials. So they're moving so quickly. A guy called Luke is incredible, but they're building content credentials at pace. So the idea that me or you could log into this platform, we authenticate using a few different kind of platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, Google, whatever we want to anchor it to,
Hmm.
and then we can start issuing credential or content out and be like, I can prove that I signed this. I can prove that I am the author of this piece of content. And that's something where I think it's going to move very quickly because it is usable by pretty much anyone. And
Hmm.
anyone who wants to prove that they've ever generated something, instead of just kind of copying and pasting an image that they've generated, can put that in, sign it, and then send the signed version off to the other end. So I think again, it's one of those things that yeah, it's just combining tech in a way that I really hadn't seen before. And then
Mm.
probably the final one is just some of the stuff that's being built with agents, combining trust registries with agents so that yeah, again, like that you're identifying the right one. It's maybe going and booking travel on your behalf using your loyalty points. All of that is extremely slick. So it's not just building an itinerary for you, it's
Right.
also then able to go and book on your behalf with discounts that are only available to you because of your prior travel history. And like that user
Ah,
experience is just
fascinating. Yeah.
it's magical. Like it just doesn't exist at the moment. It's fascinating.
It's really cool that all this is there, but there's also that balancing act of making sure it works for everybody, right? Because everyone's so used to like simple
100%.
sign on. I can sign on with my Google, I can sign on with Facebook, I can sign on with LinkedIn, like you said, and then I can just sign on with my face, right? And so that whole balancing act of we got to make it usable, but it's also got to be secure enough that it can't easily be faked, right? I mean, fingerprint readers are a thing of the past now, right? So because anybody can lift the fingerprint, slap it on the thing, and then bam, you're
Yeah.
in, right? So same thing with the voice thing, right? So yeah, this whole interesting space. I've seen other projects that actually have a signature based on how you move your mouse and how you lift your phone, which I thought was fascinating.
Now, so weirdly, myself and Anki both used to be in a team deploying fraud solutions when we were both
Mm,
consultants. Um, what was fast? We once saw a demo. I won't name the company because it's bad PR for them, but they had one of those solutions which is they provided a signature based on how you, yeah, moved your mouse on the screen. The problem with the demo was the guy did this like signature. So he like went to log in, did some stuff, and one of our colleagues at the time just observed it very, very carefully, and then went and then cracked it straight on the first go.
oh boy.
Just exactly, and that was they were so like, oh, this is impenetrable. No one could copy this, and I won't name who it was, but he got through on the first try. I'm like. Oh, this
Uh,
is. I mean, like demo gremlins are a thing, but like this is just bad. This is really bad.
yeah, no, absolutely for security reasons.
Oh,
makes
absolutely,
for an
exactly.
interesting space. So yeah, you do have your challenge set ahead of you, right? Like it's the monetization of all this. It's in involving it with all the other moving parts and pieces. So it's definitely a fun space. What caused you to go this route? It was just necessity is the mother of all invention, or what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it was like I was saying, myself and Anchor were, yeah, I guess just building in this space, and we just saw we saw the same response enough times where we're like, there's an opportunity here, there's a problem here,
Right.
and we need to go solve it because no one else is looking at it. So I guess it was like classic not innovator's dilemma, but kind of entrepreneur's moment of I've seen something, it's bugging me, and
Yes.
I've seen it enough times that it's bugging other people. There must be something here, and that's where it all came from. Is we need to just go off and solve this problem because no one else is looking at it. And then over that time since then, it's obviously just been a lot of learning and a lot of kind of yeah, identifying nuances, other elements of the solution, and then just seeing this like wave of AI agents coming through. It's like, okay, the whole world as we knew it is changing the way it's operating. Our whole
Mhm.
paradigm, like everything we've thought about still fits, but we now have this additional layer of AI agents being involved as well.
Fair enough. Now, I've seen other protocols, other projects doing the whole KYC, understanding the client, da 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 da, and where they came from a monetization standpoint. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Was they paid the people, right? So I'm the person. I log in, and because I choose to give my data to company XYZ, they're paying for essentially my data, and I'm getting to sell it. So what are your thoughts on that? Where
Yep.
you're switching the power back to the people, they sell the data, the companies are paying for it, and that whole monetization racket becomes, well, the company pays for the data so they can market to me better. They sell more stuff, so there's an ROI there,
Yep.
and then I get paid because I'm sharing my data, and now instead of it going out for free, I make money from this. So that it's kind of almost a
Yep.
win-win. What do you think of that?
No, it's a great it's one of the models we support as well. I think the nuances that we found is your kind of data is only as good as your relationships and where it came from. And by
Mm-hmm.
that, what I mean is you kind of gave that example earlier where you can now generate, say, your voice using 11 Labs.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but if you can then get your voice from a voice file that is signed by someone that you know has either heard or seen you in person to the point where they can provably say that it's you rather than 11 Labs,
Right.
there's a very different kind of value that you can ascribe to both those data sets because the first one you're not really sure where it came from. It sounds like you, it's pretty convincing, but you're not really sure.
Right.
The second one is it's let's say it's come from I don't know, a government official that you had to show up in person to get this voice print from. They've seen you in
Mm.
person, they've seen your passport. Voice is probably a bad example, but let's say it's a government ID, and instead of it just being a picture you've taken of the government ID, it's an actual signed digital version that you have on your device. That is super valuable. So
Yes.
it kind of depends on, like, if you're bringing the data, it's got some value. If you're bringing data that has some provable trust behind it, the value rockets up. The
Yes.
snag on that second model is it's that data is almost always going to come from some organization initially, because they're going to be the kind of arbiter of that trust. Like, even though it's about
Right.
you,
But it
they're
doesn't
the ones being
decentralize it
like,
then. Now you're centralizing that piece of the puzzle again, right?
well, this is the beauty of kind of how we built this in decentralized ID. You can go and get those data points from as many different points as possible. So
Mm.
you might get your government ID from the government, but you'll get your gym membership from the gym. You'll get your library card from the library card, but it's all stored with you. So you all have these different data points being built up over time. And some of it could be as low as, like, I've been to ETH Denver and I've picked up some credential that is only accessible to people in that physical space.
Right.
And then if I go and build that up over time, you can, for example, build a score to prove that you're a unique human without having to resort to something like WorldCoin and scanning irises, because I can prove that I've been to so many different places across such an amount of time that I
Mm.
have to be human and I have to have this history. So it's a lot of it is around just making sure that the sources of data and the storage is decentralized in that respect is a big thing.
Interesting. Well, it's definitely a cool thing. It's definitely a cool space. There's lots to be excited about. Um,
100%.
when it comes to, not being in front of the screen and not being in front of, because people in the crypto space, you're in front of the screen all day. What do you do when you're not in front of the screen? What do you do for fun? What do you do for relaxing? To rest your mind once in a while.
Probably, well, yeah, two, three things. So first one, bouldering, a lot of bouldering.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so try and go to bouldering three times a week.
Oh,
And
that's
then any
solid. There you
opportunity,
go.
yeah, and then any opportunity I get to go climbing outdoors, I'll take it. So I was lucky to be traveling in India, in December. And there's a place called Hampi that has a load of temples, but it's also known as the bouldering Mecca of India. Um, I had a great couple of mornings there. It shredded my fingers, but it was a really good trip. Probably favorite place, Vietnam. You can climb out over the water on the casts.
Really
Um, it's brilliant. You no ropes and you just deep water solo. Yeah, you solo out. Then when you hit the top of the roots or you get too high and you just drop straight in the water. It's stunning. So that,
fantastic way to end it, hey?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of cycling. So I've built my own bike, a lot of road cycling. So hopefully go out this weekend, I think at some point, clock up maybe 40, 50 miles. Um, and then the final one is probably a bit of a classic film and TV nerd. So all the old stuff like The Wire, Sopranos, kind of all the stuff from like back in the day. So yeah, and I went through a habit of going through the IMDb top 250, and I think I'm at about 200 out of 250 now. So I'm
Wow, that's
slowly.
impressive. That's a lot.
It's been there's been quite a few hours invested there. So it's not all kind of action sports. There's some winding down in there as well.
Fantastic. I've never thought of that. I've never heard of that challenge, doing the IMDb top 250. That's a pretty cool challenge.
What I'm not sure it's like an official challenge, but I was like, it's a good way of just looking for good films that have been consistently rated and just I don't know. There's so much content out there. There's so many films, so many TV shows. How do you choose? And I basically logicked it as like,
Well,
go find a rating service and work my way down is basically where I'm at.
that's a fantastic way of looking at things. It's a fascinating way to see kind of how your mind works, right? I mean, if you're that astute when it comes to just your entertainment choices, right? Like what are your thought processes when it comes to just life and business? And if that's how, I mean, it's that simple saying, like how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
That's probably
So
true. Yeah,
fascinating.
I guess like based on data is probably the biggest one. I mean, there's always room for gut feel and kind of intuition. And I think there's always an element of like you've got to try something new. So if something hasn't been rated or it's early days, like there's always like take a punt. But if the data's there, why not make use of it? Is probably true in terms of exactly that statement of how you do one thing is how you do anything. Like based on data is a huge amount of the way I approach everything.
Now that you mention it, I realize that I do the same thing, but for restaurants. So
Interesting. In what way?
I go to Google Map, I top down research, boom, 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 and here you go.
Same.
I'm like, what a fascinating thing. Like, wait, I do the same thing, but just for food. So it's just
Yep, exactly.
a different take on the same data set, right? This is like, hey, okay, well, I don't do the IMDb thing, but that sounds actually really cool. My wife and I are like, hey, what the hell do you want to watch today? I don't know. Right. So
Yep,
that sounds really cool. And now, that's what we do, but for food instead, which is kind of also hilarious. So
yep.
fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a really
No,
fun
no.
concept. So there you go. It's a crypto and date night device. So
That's what I'm here for. That's where the real value is.
excellent. Fantastic. Well, to wrap it up, the last piece is really, where do you want people to find you? Like what platform are you trying to grow, and where do you want people to find you?
Absolutely. So probably the usual place, so Twitter, X, or well, and or Telegram.
Mhm.
So if you'll find our project on Twitter under checked underscore IO, so CHEQD underscore IO. I'm at Fraser underscore again. The anecdote behind that is it's my second Twitter account because my old Twitter account is tied to my university address, and because I don't own
Oh,
it, yeah,
right.
because I don't own either of those things, I can't get into the original, so it's gone. Um, so yeah, Fraser underscore again, and back to the company side, you'll find our Telegram community on checked underscore IO as well. I think on Telegram if you just hunt that down. And if anyone has any questions, or is building agents, or is building any solutions into centralized ID, find us there, and we'll be more than happy to help.
That's fantastic. Great reason to join. Easy to find you. I love the naming convention again. That's hilarious. So,
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
alrighty. Well, any parting words of wisdom? That's a wrap. Unless you got anything else.
No, no. No, nothing else to add. Just thanks for having me, and yeah, short but extremely sweet. So thanks for the
Absolutely.
time.
Thanks for coming on the show. And dude, I love that IMDb tip. So now I'm gonna go check out your project just because of that. So
Cool, awesome.
fantastic.